Hello children, last class we have seen about the lesson number 9 applications of biotechnology, question and answers of 2 mark and some of the 3 mark questions. Now let us continue with the 3 mark questions and 5 mark questions in this episode. So the first 11th question of this episode is the ELISA is a technique based on principles of antigen antibody reactions. Can this technique be used in molecular diagnosis of a genetic disorder such as phenylketonuria? So here they are asking whether this technique will be used for treating the phenylketonuria or not. So that we have to write the answer. So ELISA is, we know that it is a highly sensitive and can detect antigens in range of nanograms, that is that minute quantity of antigens are also present, it can detect that one. So that is why it is very efficient and it is a highly sensitive and specific method used for the diagnosis. For this technique, that is the ELISA is not used for phenylketonuria. For what it is used then? So it is used for genetic disorders like sickle cell anemia, beta thalassemia, and phenylketonuria only can be detected by PCR technique but not by the ELISA technique. So that is the reason you have to write. So here ELISA is a highly sensitive and can detect antigens in the range of nanograms, and it is highly sensitive and it is specific method for the diagnosis of disorders like sickle cell anemia, beta thalassemia. But phenylketonuria disease is detected by the PCR method but not by the ELISA method. So that is what you have to have the understanding. Then question number 12. So ELISA is a biochemical procedure to detect the presence of specific antibodies or antigens in a given sample. So A question is mention the kinds of ELISA and B question is state its application. So we know that ELISA is a biochemical procedure to detect the presence of specific antibodies. That is, there are 4 kinds of ELISA, namely direct ELISA, indirect ELISA, sandwich ELISA and competitive ELISA. So these techniques are not explained in your textbook, but if you know that things, that is enough. So we have 4 types: direct ELISA, indirect ELISA, sandwich ELISA and competitive ELISA. So it is very useful in diagnosing the person who is suffering from HIV, whether if a person is suffering from HIV disease, then to test that one, for that we can use this ELISA technique. So this is a important diagnostic tool for the determination of HIV positive or negative. 13th question, if a person thinks he is infected with HIV due to unprotected sex and goes for a blood test, do you think a test such as ELISA will help? If so, why, and if not, why? So here the answer is HIV infection by pathogen can be detected by the presence of very small amount of proteins such as glycoproteins, or by detecting the antibodies synthesized against the pathogen. So that is what we have to identify when we are going for a HIV test. So for the best technique or the principle used for detecting the HIV is the ELISA, and it is based on the principle of antigen antibody interaction. So ELISA test can be used for the detection of or diagnosis of AIDS. So HIV patient, if he is thinking that he is having HIV or he is suspecting that he can have HIV, then he can go for the testing of ELISA technique so that he can get confirmation whether he is positive of HIV or not. The next question, what are DNA vaccines? So DNA vaccines are a type of vaccine which contain genetic material. So the name itself can understand that. So DNA vaccine means we are using the DNA in that. So if the immune response of the body is stimulated by a DNA molecule which is inserted into the organisms, then the DNA vaccine cannot cause the disease as it contains only copies of a few of its genes. So in the genetic material we are not taking all the materials of which is causing the disease, but we are taking only the particular gene which can elicit the immune response. So, such material is taken from the organism and it is inserted in other organisms, so that the DNA copies can detect can be detected by our immune system, and the DNA vaccines are relatively easy and they are very inexpensive to design and to produce. So, that is the reason. So, nowadays we are going to use DNA vaccines as repeatedly than any other vaccines, the older vaccines. Then question number 15, what are recombinant vaccines? So, recombinant vaccines are generally of uniform quality and produce side effects as compared to the vaccines produced by conventional methods. So, what are the conventional methods? Like killing of the microbes and then administering them into the person who is suffering from the disease. But in this recombinant vaccines, we are not using the conventional methods, but we are using a recombinant vaccine, that is the DNA materials are used so that we can produce less side effects from that vaccines. So, type of recombinant vaccines what we are using here are subunit recombinant vaccines, attenuated recombinant vaccines and DNA vaccines. So, these are the three types of vaccines of recombinant vaccines we have. Then question number 16, so what are transgenic animals? Give example. So, transgenic animals are those animals which contain a foreign gene in their genome introduced by recombinant technology. So, such gene is called as a transgene. That is, when we insert any animal with any foreign DNA material into it, then the resultant DNA material which is obtained, that is called as transgene. And the example for the transgenic animals are transgenic mice and transgenic rabbit. Then question number 17, explain why cloning of Dolly the sheep was such a major scientific breakthrough. So, Dolly was the first animal to be cloned from a differentiated stomatic cell taken from an adult without the process of fertilization. So, what is stomatic cell? Stomatic cell means the ordinary cell, that is a cell in any of the part of the body. So, here what they have taken, the udder cell of the sheep was taken. So, that is not a germinal cell or reproductive cell, that is a general cell. So, that cells are called as stomatic cells. So, the Dolly was created from a stomatic cell but not from the embryonic cell. So, that is what we have to keep it in the mind. So, it is a major scientific breakthrough because it offers benefits for clinical trials and medical research. So, through this only we have started using the gene therapy and different other therapies for at the DNA level, so that genetic diseases can be cured, and it can help in the production of proteins and drugs in the field of medicine. So, like insulin and some other monoclonal antibodies, all these are all produced by this method. So, that is why this has been a breakthrough, and it also helps in the stem cell research. So, stem cell research is the one where you have using a ordinary cells in the bone marrow which can be differentiated into any type of cell, those are called as stem cells. So, that is why this cloning of Dolly has become a scientific breakthrough. Then question number 18, how PCR technique is used to identify criminals. So, we know that nowadays criminals can be easily identified, so by using the modern techniques. So, such techniques which are vigorously used here in the finding the criminals is the PCR technique. So, polymer chain reaction technique, so which can be used in the field of forensic medicine. So, forensic medicine is nothing but it is a branch of biology where we can find the criminals who are responsible for the crime, and those people can be detected and they can be punished. So, that is the forensic medicine, where we are using some of the techniques like PCR. We are using a single molecule of DNA is taken from the blood stains, hair, semen of individual in an adequate quantity, and we are amplifying that PCR but through the PCR technique, because we know that criminals wants to escape from the crime what they are doing. So they usually don't keep any identifications there, so that they will not be caught hold of. So for that reason, even at the time of any accidents happening during that crime, so any hair fall, small hair or anything which is a clue which is being got from that place, that is not sufficient for identifying the criminal. So for that reason, what we are taking the hair or the semen or blood stains, whatever is there in that place, we are collecting that one, and we are using those samples in the PCR, and we are amplifying. The amplification means we are making more copies of that number, and then we are making so ample enough so that we can detect what it is. So after amplification, we are using that DNA in the DNA fingerprinting technique, and then we are finding out who is the criminal. So this is how the PCR technique is used in the identification of criminals. Then question number 19, state any 3 uses of transgenesis. So it is a powerful tool to study the gene expression and development processes in higher organisms. So why we are using transgenesis is for gene expression. So if you want to know what gene is producing what type of protein, for that we are using this transgenesis method, and it is also used for the serving as good models for understanding the human diseases, which help in the investigation of new treatments of the diseases. For example, cancer. So we don't know what is the exact cause of the cancer, but it is happening. So when we do this transgenesis method, we can identify what gene has been triggered and what makes the cell immortal in the cancer, and how that cancer is growing into a tumor. All these things we can find out through the transgenesis method. And the next one is, they are also used in the production of proteins which are used in the medical and pharmaceutical applications. So we know many proteins like insulin, then glycoproteins, human growth hormone proteins, all these things are produced by this transgenesis method. So because if a person is suffering from any diseases like diabetes, he cannot produce the insulin on his own. So that has been administered by a name called as Humalog. What is there, or Humalin, what we call the trade name, that has been formed by the production of this such type of transgenesis method. So that is how they are used in the production of pharmaceutical new drugs can be formed, and new medicines can be formed, or we can use them in the edible vaccines also. So that is how we can use the transgenesis process in that. And next one is transgenesis mice. So are also used in testing for the safety of the vaccines. So you don't use humans as people for trials basis. We use first the animals. So in this, the rats or the mice what we use are showing abundant what vaccination we are giving, they are responding to them. So that what will happen, so we will know what is the side effects of this transgenesis, or what benefits we are getting through this transgenesis. So that is how they are utilized in this transgenesis process. So mice are the major animals which are used in the transgenesis testing process. Then question number 20, so justify the role of animals as bioreactors. So we know that what is a bioreactor, nothing but organisms are used to produce some chemicals or hormones or enzymes, whatever we want of our desired quality. So those are called as bioreactors. So the cells itself, the cells of an organism itself is acting as a factory, and it is producing the materials whatever we want. So that is called as the bioreactor. So here animals are used as bioreactors to produce desirable proteins, whatever proteins like insulin, then monoclonal antibodies, and many other chemicals are being produced through these organisms, that animals in the sense animal cells we are using there. So antibodies are substances that react against the disease causing antigens, and these can be produced by using transgenic animals as bioreactors. So when we are using these animals as bioreactors, because these proteins have antigens and they react the antibodies will be produced and against the antigens which are administered. So that is how we can get the product what we desired. And for example is monoclonal antibodies, which are used for treating the cancer and heart diseases, and they are also used in the transplant rejection. So if a person is having kidney transplantation or liver transplantation, or nowadays pancreatic transplantation is also happening. So where if a person is getting the organs from other human beings, so our body will immune system will not accept that one. So to stop that one, we are using monoclonal antibodies, so that they will protect the transplant what has happened. So that is how the bioreactors can help in the production of monoclonal antibodies and other proteins. Then question number 21, mention the advantages of cloning. So it offers benefits for clinical trials and medical research. So it can help in production of proteins and drugs in the field of medicine, and also it aids in the stem cell research, and animal cloning could help to save endangered species. We know that many species are in extinct, some are in endangered. So extinct we cannot get back, but endangered species we can save them at least. So by collecting the DNA of those things, and we can clone them by storing them in the gene banks, we can clone them, and afterwards we can get them by cloning processes if at all they get extinct. So that is how the cloning helps in the endangered species. So by this our 3 marks question is completed. Now let us go to the 5 marks questions. So first question is, explain how recombinant insulin can be produced. So we know that insulin is being produced outside the body, and it is administered to the patient who are suffering from type 2 diabetes. So insulin is a hormone which is secreted by islets of pancreas, and it is produced from the pancreas from the cell called as beta cells. So and it is helping in the conversion of the glucose in our blood into glycogen. So that is the role of the human insulin. So if this insulin is not there, then the glucose which is there in the blood, it will be going in the blood itself, and it can cause damages to the body, and also it is going away as a waste material from our urine. So that is the reason insulin is a very important hormone in our body to give us energy whenever we need. So if the insulin is not converting the glucose in the blood into glycogen, we cannot have stored energy in our muscles and the liver. So that is the main role of human insulin. So this human insulin is produced by pancreas from beta cells of islets of Langerhans cells, and this insulin, if you see, it is a protein hormone which is having 2 peptides, and this insulin which is produced by recombinant DNA technology, it was first started in the late 1970s, but this technique involved the insertion of human insulin gene on the plasmids of E. coli. We know that E. coli is a bacteria, it is a prokaryotic bacteria which has many plasmids. So inside the plasmid, this human insulin gene is inserted, and then it is produced from that. So the polypeptide what is synthesized from the E. coli, it has a precursor called as pre-proinsulin, and which contains A and B segments and linked to a third chain called as C, and it precedes by a leader sequence. So the leader sequence is removed after translation, and the C chain is excised, leaving the A and B polypeptide chains. So that is how the insulin is produced. So insulin is also the first ever pharmaceutical product of recombinant DNA technology administered to humans. So, in 1986, human insulin was marketed under the trade name called as Humulin. Then let us go to second question on the applications of biotechnology is gene therapy to treat a person born with a hereditary disease. What does gene therapy mean? So, first we have to write the definition of gene therapy. So, it is a treatment process for a person who has a inborn hereditary disease. So, principle of this is replacement of healthy gene in the place of defective or mutant alleles, and this process involves the transfer of normal gene into a person's cells that carries one or more mutant alleles. So, a person can be having one mutant allele or both the alleles can be mutant. So, such gene can be administered or it can be transformed with a normal gene through gene therapy method. The next point what you have to write is strategies involved in gene therapy, that is there are two types, that is gene augmentation therapy and gene inhibition therapy. So, expression of normal gene in the person results in a functional gene product whose action produces a normal phenotype. So, he will be once the gene is inserted, he will not have the defective gene. So, his phenotype, which is phenotype in the sense outside character what he is showing, that will not be affected anymore after the gene therapy is done, and then the delivery of the normal gene is accomplished by using a vector. So, vector is a carrier which can insert that gene into the defective gene place. Then third question, name the hereditary disease for which the first clinical gene therapy was used and mention that steps involved in gene therapy to treat this disease. So, the first clinical gene therapy was given in 1990 by French Anderson to a 4-year-old child suffering with adenosine deaminase, that is ADA or deficiency. So, ADA deficiency is also called as SCID disease or severe combined immunodeficiency, and is an autosomal recessive metabolic disorder, and it is caused by the deletion or dysfunction of the gene coding for ADA enzyme. So, these patients non-functioning T lymphocytes cannot elicit immune responses against invading pathogens. So, the T lymphocytes cannot elicit means they cannot trigger the immune response, and the right approach for SCID treatment would be to give the patient a functioning ADA which breaks down the toxic biological products. Then methods to cure the SID are bone marrow transplantation, where defective immune cells could be replaced with healthy immune cells from a donor, and second one is treating the enzyme replacement therapy in which the functional ADA is injected into the patient, and treated by gene therapy method in which lymphocytes from the blood cells of the patient are removed and grown in the nutrient medium, and then they are again transplanted again into the body of the person from whom it has been taken. Then steps in the gene therapy is, during this procedure the lymphocytes from the blood of the patient are grown in a culture outside the body. So, a functional ADA or cDNA using a retroviral vector is used, and in this it is introduced into those lymphocytes and which are subsequently returned to the patient. So, however, as these cells are not immortal, so the patient requires periodic infusion of such genetically engineered lymphocytes. Third step is if the gene isolated from bone marrow cells or producing ADA is introduced into the cells at early embryonic stages, then the person can be permanently cured. So, these are the steps used in the gene therapy. Then fourth question, explain the process of gene therapy with a suitable diagram. You have the diagram in your textbook, so you have to follow the flow chart and you have to take. So, what we are doing is the bacteria is carrying the gene of interest, and that is introduced by the retrovirus into the cells of the bacteria, and then gene which is there with the retrovirus, it is there in the cell of the bacteria, and then once the cells are administered with the recombinant DNA, they will be grown and the cells are then injected into the child who is suffering from the ADA disease. So that is how you can explain the gene therapy with a diagram. So in this you need not draw the child, just if you mention the name child, that is enough. Then fifth question, what are the stem cells? Explain its role in the field of medicine. So first you have to write the definition. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells found in the most of the multicellular animals, and these cells maintain their undifferentiated state even after undergoing numerous mitotic divisions. So stem cells have the ability to regenerate damaged and diseased organs, and this is the important key feature of stem cells, so which is used in the medicine. So they can regenerate the damaged or diseased organs. The next, the other feature of the stem cells are capable of self renewal and exhibit cellular potency, and stem cells can differentiate into all types of cells. Then sixth question, PCR is a useful tool for early diagnosis of an infectious disease. So how? Elaborate that one. So the specificity and sensitivity of the PCR is useful for the diagnosis of inherited disorders, that is the genetic diseases, viral diseases and bacterial diseases, and the diagnosis and treatment for a particular disease often requires identifying a particular pathogen, and traditional methods of identification involving the culturing of these organisms from clinical specimens and performing metabolic and other tests to identify them. But its DNA has unique sequences that can be detected by PCR, often using the clinical specimen, for example blood, stool, spinal fluid or sputum, and in PCR mixture we are using these DNAs, and the PCR is employed in the prenatal diagnosis of inherited diseases by using chorionic villi samples or the cells from amniocentesis. So the concept behind the PCR is based on diagnosis of infectious diseases is simple. So if a pathogen is present in a clinical specimen, its DNA will be present. So diseases like sickle cell anemia, beta thalassemia and phenylketonuria can be detected by PCR in these samples, and the cDNA from the PCR is a valuable tool for the diagnosis and monitoring retroviral infections, and cervical cancer caused by papillomaviruses can also be detected by PCR. And these are some of the questions which can come for the applications of biotechnology lesson. So there are still more questions which you can study from the textbook. So you can learn this, some of the important. So a PCR technique is very important. So please read that one and the diagrams according to that lesson what you have. Thank you.